Hey everyone, I'm really excited to actually go ahead and introduce the Roccat Kone XP, Roccat's latest mouse release. Let's go ahead and pop this box open and take a look at this wonderful device here and all its wonderful illumination features. Here we have the box, and along with any unboxing that we actually do here, let's go ahead and take a look at the back as well too. There's a good shot of the mouse there, pretty much the same form factor as the recent Kone Pro mouse, and also the Kone Pro Air, and also other recent mouses as well too. A little bit of a grip on this side, on the left side of the mouse, with a couple of buttons here, and that looks like multiple or more buttons on the side here, which is a very interesting design there. Kind of like a see-through thing here, very similar to the Kone Pro mouse, even though the Kone Pro kind of has like a see-through option on the mouse keys up here where the lights actually steam through. But now it looks like the entire top shell of the mouse is actually going to have this here. So that's going to be really exciting to take a look at. So let's go ahead and pop this open. Nice little box here, very lightweight. Definitely doesn't weigh more than a pound or anything like that. Right, got this open here, and let's see if we can just pull this little thing out. Right, oh, got it upside down, and there we go. Take a look at what also came with the mouse real quick. A little bit of a start guide over here, and a couple of little bumper stickers. They've actually, Roccat's actually been introducing this particular option to include these little bumper stickers here. As an extra, and just want to take a look at, yep, they already have them down here as well too. So some spare bumper stickers, which is really nice. I've actually seen some people sell replacement bumper stickers for previous generations of Roccat mice on Amazon, eBay, and some other websites. So you definitely do have a spare over here. Don't throw them away. And of course, here is our mouse. Now I'm going to definitely tell you that it looks a little odd. At first, there's also a bit of a reflection from this room here shining on the top of the mouse. But I have to say, a very solid feeling so far. Let me just try to get a nice grip on this mouse, and really feels very similar feeling to its former counterpart and previous generation of the Kone mice here as well. Let's go ahead and take a quick look a little deeper of the mouse here. Try to get some good light. Here's the scroll, okay, which obviously does have the four-dimensional up, down, left, right kind of feeling. You can kind of see that. It's basically a click in its own. This is actually a new little option here. From what I can tell, this little middle mouse button right in the center. The previous generation did not actually have that. On the side, looks like we have not just two, but looks like four buttons on this side over here, as well as two more little buttons here as well too. So definitely a number of buttons on this particular mouse here. I'm personally not a big fan of, oh, and of course, we do have one down there too as well. I'm not really a big fan of these mouse buttons on the side. I really don't use them, but I always found them to be a little inconvenient even. But however, this particular generation mouse, as well as previous ones, your thumb really does not get in the way and accidentally click on it, as I kind of had experience in a previous job of mine with some Logitech mice. So they definitely have come a long way here. Taking a look at the other side, and of course underneath as well too. This particular mouse cable that it's using here is actually referred to as a flex cable. Kind of is designed to actually avoid tangles for the most part. I actually really prefer the braided cable, just feeling the mouse cable feels a little bit cheap. But I mean, you're not really actually in for the mouse itself, just for the cable. And on the end here, looks like we have a little bit of a protection tab to protect the USB port as well. So let's go ahead and plug this in, see how this lights up. I may have to dim the lights here, just to actually give the full feeling of this mouse here. Just went ahead and plugged it in, and we do see a lot of colors basically going right through the entire top shell of the mouse. And one thing that Roccat definitely has mentioned quite a bit about this mouse is the many color options you actually have with this generation mouse here. And we're definitely going to be able to install the software and take a look at all the options here. Even just click on this little button, I get a little bit of a funny effect there, but I did go ahead and dim the lights here a little bit so you can actually see the mouse a little bit better along with all the colors it's actually offering here. Very, very amazing feeling here so far. Go ahead and move it around. Very nice feeling on the mouse pad over here. Obviously, you should probably remove some of these little protections on the bumper stickers, obviously. But even without that removal, it actually still feels pretty good. Now, this mouse is definitely lighter than previous generation mice. Like, for example, I got my little Kone over here, remastered. And just to take a little bit of a size comparison, look, they're pretty much about the same. This definitely does have a little bit more weight to it, but you can immediately tell there's a lot more color options on this particular mouse here. Even the scroller, like the entire thing, is actually lit up. So I'll go ahead and take a look at that here. The Roccat logo really stands out on this particular mouse. I believe it actually used to be stained, used to actually be lit up in the previous generation of this particular mouse here. And take a look at the side as well too. So a little bit of comparison with previous generation, the Kone XP mouse remastered. Despite being more comfortable with mice, I have a little bit of a weight to it. And as I mentioned before, I actually had a Roccat mouse from my first Roccat mouse was one from many years ago, I would say around 2013, 2014, that actually had the option underneath here to put like increments of weights in terms of 5 grams each. I believe 1 through 4 little weights you can actually put in there. And I usually actually put all of them. Give a little bit more weight to the mice. Now this one obviously doesn't have that option, and this obviously does weigh less in my Kone XP remastered mouse, but still feels pretty good, and the solid feeling it really gives you actually really doesn't bother me too much, despite the fact actually feeling very lightweight. And of course this cable even makes it even lighter for the most part. As I mentioned, the cable kind of feels a little bit cheap, but it doesn't actually give a feeling that it will actually pull the mouse when, you know, just basically unfortunately happens to us gamers. But still pretty good solid feeling to it when you're moving it around. Doesn't feel like you're really going to accidentally lift the mouse off the mouse pad when you got some weight to it, you got your palm to it. Very geared for people with slightly bigger hands, but even slightly smaller hands as well too. My size hand's like a medium, and I feel very comfortable actually holding it. My thumb actually feels really well over here, and of course clicking around really feels well as definitely as well too. So the fact that I'm actually more accustomed to heavier mice or prefer heavier mice is actually not really rubbing off on me here, and it's actually giving me a really good motion here, and very good control feeling as well too. So I want to go ahead and do a little bit of a sound test, and we'll take a look at the software. So it did actually take me a moment to find the drivers for this, and I say that because I was actually anticipating this mouse to be using a new set of drivers as opposed to the regular Swarm software. And I believe the software, the newer software and driver software for basically controlling your devices that are connected to your computer is actually a Roccat Neon software. I don't believe that software is supporting this mouse just yet. And I did actually notice that there was an update as soon as I plugged this mouse in to my Roccat Swarm software, and you actually see my Vulcan keyboard, my old Vulcan XP mouse, and of course now you see the Kone XP mouse. So after doing a quick update, it did also update the firmware inside the mouse itself, and here we are. Looks like the options are all up and running, so that's great to actually have here. I'm pretty sure this new Roccat Neon software will probably be supporting this mouse fully, but maybe just not yet. I think right now it's just supporting the headset and other devices at this time. But let the show begin. Let's go ahead and take a look here. I'm going to go ahead and click on settings. you immediately see a couple of options here, including double click speed, some other functional options here for your mouse. Of course, one big important and very important thing here is the DPI switcher, which actually I was really looking forward to changing, and I actually changed it to a 1600 speed. I actually prefer maybe anywhere between 2000 and 2600 speed just for your everyday browsing and other stuff like that as well too. Changing these obviously will make the cursor will actually move a little bit faster, a little bit slower. So let me go ahead and change it to a slower speed. Like to 400, you'll see the mouse is basically just dragging. And this is really useful if you're going to be playing basically first-person shooters and you're going to jump into a sniper mode, immediately switch right back. If you're going to end up pulling down M16, start shooting that instead. So very good option there as well too. You can obviously go ahead and turn off some of these if you plan not to use them, or even turn them all completely off if you're only going to be using one setting. So right now, go ahead and just turn them all off and keep this one option on. So even if you decide to try to change to another one, you will not see any option here. You can definitely go ahead and manually change this here in DPI switcher, but obviously ideally you really want to go ahead and change that on the mouse in the upper left part. There are those two little buttons there, the up and down, the plus and minus, that'll actually increase or decrease your DPI. Now these particular little buttons were usually in the middle of the mouse, like right in the center, just below the scroller. So it's kind of a bit of a change there. Maybe they actually put that there because sometimes some gamers unfortunately accidentally trigger click that little option there, so they actually relocated it to the upper right corner. I guess I can actually see that particular option. I've actually gotten used to this particular buttons being in the area it was, so it's going to take a little bit of reposition of my hand here to really get those buttons in the way now. Some other options we do see here: vertical scroll speed, horizontal tilt speed, double click speed. Obviously I usually have it to a very high number in Windows, so it looks like it did absolutely absorb and assimilate that setting from my Windows setting. And other options here as well too. Very likely if you've already set these up in control panel, you'll actually see them here as well too. Some other options like enable mouse acceleration, which I'm actually not a big fan of. Basically as you start to go a little faster, it seems like it picks up a little bit more speed. And display pointer trails, something dating back to like the Windows 95 and 98 days. As you can see here, you actually see a little bit of a shadow feeling as well too. Next little tab here we have is button assignment. This, as I mentioned earlier, this mouse has almost like a bunch of buttons here, and if you actually take a look at the entire area, it actually amounts to about 15. And that includes obviously your left and right click, your scroll click, those 4 buttons on the side, and a whole bunch of other buttons as well too. So you can actually go ahead and basically assign particular functions here, or even actually use the shift key to actually assign that for easy shift options as well too. I actually don't really use these options too much, but the option is there if you definitely like to use those shortcuts. And really good to see this particular mouse has absorbed all those options as well. Next tab we have here that a lot of people are looking forward to is illumination. As mentioned before, this mouse definitely has much more LED options than previous generation mice. And let's actually take a look here. Right now, obviously it's set up to the default wave. I'm just going to go ahead and select some other options here. Let's see what breathing actually looks like. You can also increase the speed as well too. Or go ahead and select the menu here to actually go ahead and select any other options, such as heartbeat. And go ahead and change the color theme if you'd like. And go ahead and select the blue one. Let's see what that looks like. I haven't seen this one before. I'm just basically just blinking on and off. So you definitely do have a lot of options here. Go ahead and click there. And you can definitely do just a regular old-fashioned fully lit. So the color is basically static. And of course, just go ahead and click on the customization here. And this is where you can have all the fun you want and go ahead and change the colors here manually. Once I actually go ahead and click on custom, you can immediately see all the options here. On the previous mouse generation, I actually had about, I believe, 4 to 6 colors, and I believe these two kind of like blend in a little bit. Seems like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looks like 8, which is very interesting. So a lot of color options you have here as well too. You can also just turn on this particular option here, which is basically has like the default rainbow color. and just control the brightness here and other options also. If you do have a favorite selection of colors that you actually want to go ahead and save, you can definitely do the profile slot here. I've actually used this myself on my keyboard and my mouse when I want to select between blue, white, or even just completely off. You definitely do have the option. How do you actually turn this off? Well, very easily. Just go ahead and select any color you want and just drag the brightness all the way down, and your mouse is now completely off and dimmed out. Moving along here to the last tab, we do have advanced settings, and it looks like we do have some other options here for polling rate, distance control unit, LED timeout. This is very useful in the workplace, particularly when I actually walk away from the desk and my keyboard and mouse decide to go to sleep and turn all the lights off or even dim them. After about 15 minutes or so, you can go ahead and change this to the time limit you'd like. Debounce time, angle snapping, sound feedback, obviously. If you turn this off, you'll actually hear a little bit of a voice telling you that you've increased or decreased the DPI. I remember on my older Roccat mouse, I was actually really, out of nowhere, it would actually tell me, congratulations, you unlocked an achievement or something like that. And that was always kind of spooky when it just blurts it out like that. So you have those options to turn that off or turn that on. Obviously, if you have changed your DPI, I can see this being very useful, so that option is actually there if you want to go ahead and turn that on. And of course, reset settings right back to default. If you feel you've made a mistake, you can definitely go ahead and have it back to factory settings. I believe that may wipe out your profile slots as well too, so just bear that in mind. Be really careful when we're going ahead and clicking on that. Down the bottom, just above the profile slots, we actually do see a couple of buttons here. Profile Manager basically manages the profiles you actually save down here. You can actually go ahead and remove or delete them completely if you'd like. You can even save and import profiles as well too. Very useful if you're actually going to be transferring your settings to another computer. And Macro Manager, sorry. And it looks like we have some default settings for a lot of games out there. Looks like that's one of my favorites, Left 4 Dead, very old-fashioned 2009 game, but still one of the best zombie games around, and a bunch of other games as well too. Looks like you can actually set up your own as well too by clicking plus, downloading some, or even just saving them or deleting them as well too. You can even duplicate one and actually make multiple customizations to some of these profiles here to your liking. If you have downloaded the Roccat software and obviously you don't see your options for settings, just go ahead and click on this wheel. You'll see this particular area here and just go ahead and click on search now. Obviously, it should probably tell you that the update's available if this is activated, but if it's not, you can go ahead and click on here. Some other little options here in the Roccat Swarm software. Update Center, obviously you can tell that it's telling me everything is up to date for both my mice that are both actually connected at the same time and my Vulcan keyboard as well too. So again, with a little side-by-side comparison with both mice, I actually set them both to a purple, basically a flashy breathing kind of mode here, just so you can actually get a little comparison between both of them over here. Now, it seems like it actually does capture the color quite a bit really well, but because this is actually a little bit of a see-through kind of plastic feeling, some of the color appears to be lost a little bit. The camera doesn't really do it too much justice, but obviously you're not going to expect this to actually be a perfect color of the color gradient spectrum here. So you definitely do capture the purple here. As you dim it out a little bit, it kind of gets lost in a little bit of like a white color. However, it still looks really solid. And you know, the colors are definitely quite flashy. Let me go ahead and choose another color here. How about a nice red one? Red definitely stands out. And, oh, wrong mouse. That's funny. I actually changed the other mouse, but not a bad idea to have both of them side by side yet again. So here we have a little bit of a red kind of pinkish feeling, even though it kind of looks like a little bit purpley on the camera. But it really depends what you're really trying to pick up this mouse for. Do you really want it for the illumination, which obviously it does have a lot of options for, and you can definitely change the colors here. You can definitely see the scroller seems to be more of a slightly sharper red color, like more of like a apple, you know, so to speak. Feeling there, basically the shell here kind of like has like a more red purpley feeling. And obviously the color is never going to be perfect. For example, let me go ahead and select my blue color again. And it definitely looks nice, but kind of a little bit of a white feeling as well too, even when I changed everything to all blue. And I guess maybe I just have to make it a little bit darker in order to really capture a good blue color, and I'll try to give that a shot in a moment before I end the video. But going back to the mechanics of the mouse, again, very solid feeling. It basically is smooth on the surface, obviously. Obviously, if you're going to be using a rough wooden surface, you'll definitely have a little bit of an issue. I do have a family member that is actually using her particular mouse here on a wooden kind of feeling that's a little bit rough, and that mouse definitely struggles, but still works, just a little uncomfortable for me to actually use because I'm not what I'm really used to. But just using a regular mouse pad, this really feels and works absolutely amazing. As I said, definitely much lighter than previous generation mice. If that's what you're looking for, I think you will absolutely pleasantly pleased with this particular model mouse. If you definitely do prefer a slightly heavier mouse with a little bit more weight to it, like I do, I will say, really good compromise. I really don't know how they did it. Probably a little bit of a magic, but you know, a really good design. But I actually don't really feel it. Almost as if it really welcomes the weight of my hand to actually kind of fill in the gap, so to speak, of the weightless that this particular mouse is currently having. So definitely a great feeling to it. It really does conform around my hand. Go ahead and take a look on this side. So it actually almost feels like I'm really not going to run into any of these 4 mouse buttons that are actually on the side. The bottom one really hasn't been an issue, but yeah, obviously I do have that little trigger point there, and of course you can customize that mouse button to use any way you want. This mouse is also available in a glacier white color as well too, which will definitely go ahead and match with your device. In this case, I'm actually using a Roccat Vulcan keyboard, so both of them are actually the same color, and if I actually put some illumination to this, they both can match as well too. So definitely a winner pair there if you have a keyboard, even a headset as well too. And of course, Roccat does have mouse pads that have the illumination on the side. I don't have one myself. I actually just like this nice little mouse pad I do have here. So I've gone ahead and made all the colors here be like a nice blue color. This actually looks very, very solid. I even made the scroller on here just kind of a white color. So, you know, what do you think? The color really looks good. You may have to mess around with the RGB colors if you're really picky, like me. I really just want a nice dark blue color here, and it seems to really fill very nicely. Guess I can probably put the breathing option, but I think it's just funny how the scroller just really stands out. So there's actually really hardly any blend, if anything, when it comes to the actual scroller. I'm going to see if I can get this to focus in a little better. You can actually see that very, very nicely. Kind of gives you like a Tron feeling here for a moment there. Excellent device here, and I will definitely look forward to using this over the next couple of days and then doing a follow-up video as well too. Thanks again for watching, everyone. Hope everyone found this very interesting and useful. Go ahead and shoot that like and subscribe button to support the channel. Keep things going. I definitely do have more reviews upcoming. More than happy to get my hands on this particular mouse and do a very early review on it. And of course, if you own this mouse or have any questions about it, new product, by all means, let me know. I'll be able to answer your questions as best as I can. Thanks again for watching, everyone. And as always, stay safe. Take care.